if you want him to hear what you're saying, minimize it. And then it doesn't make him have to defend, because anytime a man feels criticized, there will be an automatic defense. And he'll tend to do that very thing again and again and again. Here's what I figured out, which is
So, John, I want to share with you a couple of things. First of all, I've asked this audience for questions, and so I'd love to take some of those questions today. But a couple of people have also sent in some pretty interesting and fun comments that I'd love to share with you. And this first one, I think, will crack you up. It did me when I read it. Just wanted to share this with you because I think you'll enjoy this. This is from Mary Beth. She says, I love your interviews with Dr. John Gray. I listen to them frequently. One day I was in church and the service was about to start. I put my phone in my purse, set my purse down by my seat, and went to greet a friend. All of a sudden, I realized my phone was making some racket. I went over to see what was happening, pulled out my phone. I pulled my phone out of my purse just in time for John Gray to announce to the people sitting around me, I know men in their 70s and 80s who are having great sex. That sure got everybody's attention around me.
That's a fun story.
Don't you love that?
Yep.
So you're preaching in the church without even knowing it. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question. Can you please ask John Gray about men realizing they are falling in love and how we as women can sense it without asking them directly?
Yes, they say basically, and it's true, that a man shows his love particularly in the beginning, but also throughout the marriage, in his actions. So it's through his actions that he shows his love and his affection. And I'm going to add to that one thing, which is often women think that if he does things without my having to ask, that means he really loves me. And that means he just knows what you need and remembers. But the fact that he delivers is that he loves you. So a more practical approach to men is to realize that if you ask and he says yes, then that means he loves you. And I think we always have to remember in life, we're not getting what we want. We need to ask. And this is a bigger challenge for women than for men, because when men do things on their own, I'll just do it myself, it raises the male testosterone hormone, which actually is good for him. But when a woman says, I'll just do it myself, it's not bad for her, but if she does that over and over, she's not raising her female hormone, which is estrogen. And as women get older, they need to do even more things that can raise estrogen. And that means asking for help and getting it. It's one of the most powerful ways to raise your female hormones. Doing it yourself is your male hormones. And so this is a challenge single women have at all ages, but more so as they get older, because the body doesn't automatically make as much estrogen. But estrogen is the hormone of love and well-being and grounds a woman in her feminine side. When she's too much on her male side, as all my talks talk about these days, it's often a source of stress for her, or can be a source of stress for her.
Yeah, so coming back to this, John, would you say that men fall in love by doing, you said they show their love by their actions, and you're saying
fall in
that
love. That's from other talks we've done. Very clearly, we fall in love and we stay in love by performing certain actions or behaviors, or could be what we say or do, that has a positive effect on a woman. So her reaction is one of appreciation, of acceptance, of trust, of depending on him, but not being needy. Needy is asking for more than he provides and pointing that out to him. But when you're appreciating a man, it's because there's a need and you're acknowledged. If you're hungry and somebody feeds you, there's a natural response of, this tastes good. I just had lunch. If I was to eat a meal now where I don't need food, I'd just be stuffing myself. It doesn't feel good. So the reality is men bond when they do something, have a meaningful effect on a woman. And the most meaningful effect is when a woman gets something that she needs. If it's just something she likes, that's okay. That's friendship, okay? Which is I like being with you, you like being with me. But what takes it to a deeper level of intimacy is where a woman feels, I feel safe and I can depend on him for that sense of security. I can depend on him to have my book back. I can depend on him not to be judgmental if I was to open up my feelings, which are often maybe not so positive. That's a whole key thing. The pressure to always be positive is not healthy. When women do have positive feelings in response to what a man does, he bonds with you. Well, having said that, that can put a pressure on women to always have a positive reaction to what he does. That's another trap. So the kind of how do you get through that trap is there's a need when you we all have kind of ups and downs. And when you're going through one of your downs, it's very easy to focus on your partner as a reason why you're feeling down. And what I found is that you just need to find other reasons for feeling down. One can be, there was stress today at my job. I just want to talk about it. Then he can be a good listener and have to have empathy for you and demonstrate caring when it's not about him. Now, now that's one thing, which is just being able to share what's going on inside of you. If you're positive all the time, you're pushing something down. The nature of life is we have good days and bad days. There's ups and there's downs. There's ups and downs. And intimacy occurs for a woman. Intimacy. That's not the intimacy that men experience. Men experience, look at what I did. See what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did. Yeah. And often women think of that as men's arrogance and ego trip and whatever. But it's just, that's how they receive love, is look what I did. And don't focus so much on what I didn't do. Because when you focus on what I didn't do, that's a downer. When you focus on what I did do, that's good. So there's a pressure, if you really understand men, there's a pressure to have a positive response. But you also have to recognize, to the extent that we have positive responses, we also have a need as human beings to not be positive all the time. I don't think anybody's ever said that in that sense. But if you look at our biology, which is the prefrontal cortex, there's one part of our front part of our brain which sees problems. That's my right side, sees problems, looking off to the left. And looking off to the right is optimism and positivity. And just think about, if evolution and progress is to occur, you have to have the optimism to solve problems, but you also have to know what are the problems. So things get good, and then there's going to be problems. In a playful way, in Men Are From Mars, I talk about one of the chapters on the Home Improvement Committee, which is when women have a home, actually a house, women make it into a home, there's always this sense of, how can I make it better? How can I make it better? And that's a really good quality. Men sort of have the opposite, which is don't do anything unless it's broken. Fix it if it's broken. If it's not broke, don't waste the energy. So you have these two forces working together, but we're biologically designed to have both. But it turns out that when you can talk about problems, you can see them and talk about problems, it does make female hormones. And when you can basically go, okay, well, no big deal, not a problem. We can solve it. I can fix it. I can make it better. So that's the chapter on men and their Mr. Fix-It hat. He puts on his hat, he fixes something, he feels successful, and he bonds with you that way. And so there always has to be, in a sense, problems for him to be motivated, but it doesn't have, ideally, he's not the problem. And that's a whole distinction. It's a whole challenge in relationships, is how to communicate to your partner, and women need to talk. It's a very important part of building connection. And when she talks, if she doesn't have the awareness that she can talk about other things other than him, in terms of problems, frustration, traffic is frustrating, politics is frustrating, health issues are frustrating, in-laws are frustrating. These are things you can talk about, frustration, and that's emotion. And when you feel that emotion, men will connect to that emotion as long as he's not being blamed. That's the whole thing. And maybe in your mind, you don't think why should he feel blamed? I'm just sharing my feelings. Well, often men They hear it as anytime you want to make me better, what's wrong with me now? Okay. Am I not
Right.
good enough? This is, you can say, oh, I'm just sharing my feelings, but you have to recognize that sometimes sharing your feelings will not be heard as being supportive of him. So I'm over here with 50 years of experience pointing out that if you can just share frustrations and disappointments about other things, and because that's easier for him to hear, he will hear you. And when a man hears your true feelings inside, even if it's not about him, he actually is connecting with her. And when he connects with her, then her sense of estrogen, these hormones that she needs, will go up. So the point of it is we have to communicate with an awareness. But at the same time, the women say, well, if I can't complain, well, ideally, you don't complain. I'm not saying you can't complain. There's actually ways to complain, but the ideally is, instead of complaining, is to realize behind every complaint is simply a request. So rather than
So proud.
complain, you didn't do this, you should have done that, don't do this. Once again, you forgot to turn out the light. Once again, you left the room a mess. Once again, you didn't call me. Instead, it's just simply, there's a problem. You just say, oh, honey, next time, I'd really love it if you call me in advance. Let's say he forgets again. You just say, oh, honey, next time, would you give me a call earlier? Then I'll know how to prepare. And you do it in a tone of a voice that it's not a big deal. Even if it's the 50th time, I just, if you want him to hear what you're saying, minimize it. And then it doesn't make him have to defend. Because anytime a man feels criticized, there will be an automatic defense. And he'll tend to do that very thing again and again and again. So here's what I figured out, which is take your relationship even to a higher level when you're in a relationship with a man, is you communicate to him. First of all, I'll say what you're going to do, and then I'll tell you how to communicate it to him, because he's not listening to this talk. But basically, I've analyzed romance, and romance is whenever a man does something for a woman that she could do for herself, but he does for her. Now, that would be, and my first awareness of that is opening the car door for my wife on a romantic date and her saying, I can do it myself. And me saying, of course you can do it yourself, but you do so much for me and everybody else. Tonight, let me do everything for you. See, that's a sweet gesture. And it also helps relax this tendency inside of women where when they're out of balance, they tend to take on too much. I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. Well, tonight, let me do for you. So basically, if you analyze that, that's a man doing for a woman something she could do for herself, but he's going to do for her. Now, let's just add one other thing onto that, which is romantic, that's unrealistic. And that's that women are aware of that concept, but then they go, but I shouldn't have to ask. So romance,
right.
See, that's the big barrier. Okay. It's the whole thing. And even in Christianity, ask and you shall receive, it's one of the most important messages of prayer and so forth is learning to ask. And you're actually giving a man a gift if you ask for something that you could do for yourself, but he's going to do for you. Why is that a gift to him? Because then you'll appreciate it even more, because you don't have to do everything. So there's this. Now, of course, if you just start asking men to do stuff that you could do for yourself, he'll look at you like, why are you asking me to do that? You can do that yourself. What's your problem? So there's various ways to set this up, but you can basically let your partner know. One way would just say, honey, I'm so overwhelmed. I have this problem. I take on too much. And I think that if I could sometimes ask you to do little things for me that I could even do for myself, it will help. It'll sort of break this tendency I have to just stay busy, and not be able to relax. So that would help me to relax. Another approach that I've used is for women is, honey, you are so amazing. You do so much for me that I feel like, I'm not your equal. And so and of course we are equals and so forth, but I start to feel like I'm not your equal. So if I could have 5 minutes a day where I can ask you to do something and you'll do it right away, and it will take less than 5 minutes. So just not a big deal. Something I could ask you to do. It takes less than 5 minutes. This is a biohack. It'll hack your hormones. Less than 5 minutes. And you will, if I raise my hand, I put five up. That means we're going to do that thing we commit to doing every day for 5 minutes, no matter what time, no matter what you're doing, whatever. I raise my hand. I'm going to ask you to do something for me that I could do for myself, but it will help me feel really, really good. And I'll appreciate it because it allows me to feel that we're equal. Because sometimes I just feel like, you're more important than me and I'm not that important. And then I feel undeserving. I start feeling I have to do more and more and more. So this will just fix that. And it will. This is what I
love it.
It's so good. It's so simple. And I'm giving talks, a lot of talks these days, even to groups where people don't pay. So they're the hardest audience, right? Because they're not even there necessarily to hear me speak. And every time I say, now, how many men in a relationship, and those even if you're imagining yourself in a relationship, but those are married particularly, that you would promise your wife 5 minutes every day to do something for her that you could do within 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but something. And she can ask and you'll respond like a genie, your wish is my command, happy to do it. You respond like the maitre d' at a fancy restaurant. Oh, sit right here and let me get you a drink, or if you're flying first class in an airplane, the flight attendant says, oh, if you push this button, we'll be happy to do whatever you like. So there's no grumbles, even if you might feel like, I don't want to do that. You pretend, you go right at it. You respond right away. You do that thing. And what that builds inside of a woman is that she's not alone and that she has help, and help is always there. It's a very important message, even though she knows intellectually that he would be there if some big problem was there. Every man will be there if it's a big problem. But it's the test of that is, wow, if he'll do little things, I can ask every day for something. It builds estrogen in the body. And this is something that many women can relate to, but not necessarily know the words for it, which is if I bring her 40 roses, that's one surge of estrogen. If I bring her 5 roses, same surge of estrogen. If I bring her 1 rose, same surge of estrogen. It's lots of little things is what keeps the heart open in a relationship. And this 5-minute rule is so amazing. So a woman always feels that, and her job is to ask every day. See, just like the man has to respond, she has to practice this. Because I have so many women clients who are couples, and the woman won't do it. She says she'll do it. And then she feels, oh, he's busy watching TV, or he's tired, or I know he's really busy with something. Then you're not doing it. The whole key is for you to feel that you're equal to him, that he's available to you at any moment. And if you hold it to this less than 5 minutes, so that would look like, would you finish up the dishes? Or, would you make me a cup of tea? Would you go upstairs and get my lotion and a foot massage? Would you empty the trash? Any kind of thing that you would like him to do, just to have the freedom to be able to say it, knowing that you're always going to get a positive response. And on the other side of this, he's going to do something that only takes 5 minutes or less, and it's going to make you happy. Well, that's fantastic. Then there's the 10-minute rule, which is once a week, you get 10 minutes. Okay. And the 10-minute one is, you put up your hands like this. And I want to give I do this in my own marriage, right? And so I was, kind of tired from a day of work. I'm having dinner and my wife was taking longer to eat than me. And I really wanted to go watch the news. Okay. So that's my cave time. I need to just forget all my problems and everything, go watch the news. And usually I'll do that before dinner. But this time I got home a little late having dinner, but I'm ready. I need to have some of my space time. I need to go to my cave, watch the TV, just forget everything. So we've done eating and she wanted me to stay with her. She likes me to sit and eat with her. So I'm happy to do that, but I'm done. And so I just said, I'm going to go watch TV now. And I was trying, first of all, to stay present with her. I just couldn't. And I'm really good at all this stuff, but nope, I need my time. I need to get over there. It's literally a strong desire to get over there. And she said, okay, 10 minutes, just be with me, talk with me. And it gave me the energy to be present. It was amazing when you ask a man to do something that he didn't want to do, but because you asked and because he's going to get a reward for it, he'll want to do it. See, this is the flip side of this thing of doing something for a man, him doing something that you can do for yourself. Well, the flip side of this is that you can ask a man to do something and he doesn't want to do it. But if the message is, I know you don't want to do this, but if you did it, I would feel so happy. It would feel so good. Would you do it? Then a man will go, well, it's true. I don't want to do that. But if it's going to make you happy, then I want to do it. See, men can shift just like that from not wanting to do something to wanting to do something. And just think about it. If somebody said, hey, would you fly to Dubai to give a talk? I said, no, I don't really want to fly to Dubai to give a talk. They say, well, they're offering you this amount of money. I said, okay, I want to go to Dubai to give a talk. See how easy it is based on outcome to shift what you're wanting. And so often women assume that a man's just always happy to do anything. No, we're not. But when we clearly get that this specific thing is going to make you happy, and we know that's going to make you happy, we're happy to do it. So we'll shift gears.
Wow, so much there. So profound when you said behind every complaint, there's a request. Also, the opportunity for women who are in the early stages of a relationship and who are also in relationship, some techniques and some ways to ask and ways to invite support from the man without being overly needy or overly demanding. And it cracked me up when you were talking about the home improvement committee, because I can so relate to that, with my own home and the things that I want to have done. And my husband, just like you said, if it's not broken, let's not touch it. Let's not go there. But I thought what they don't want is the husband improvement committee, where it feels like you're always looking at and picking at every little thing about them and trying to figure out how to improve them, rather than looking for requests that you can make of them or ways that you can appreciate what you are getting from them, which, from what I understand and from what I've experienced, helps motivate a man to want to do those things and to feel good about doing them. And you're most likely going to create this win-win where you're getting more of your needs met, and he's going to get that great feeling by providing for you.